The glorious night last night watching the Democratic debate, and glorious it was indeed for our president, Donald Trump, because now you are watching the dismantling of the entire field as they all take pot shots at each other. No one came out unscathed last night, but the victim of, I believe, somewhere around 45 attacks was none other than Mike Bloomberg. We showed you a little bit earlier about Bernie going at him, Elizabeth Warren going at him, but it wasn't just reserved for those two. Joe Biden also got in on the act and went to, right to the stop and frisk that Bloomberg is under considerable attack for.
Facts straight. Let's get the order straight. And it's not whether he apologized or not, it's the policy. The policy was abhorrent, and it was, in fact, a violation of every right people have. And we are the one. Our administration sent in people to monitor it, and at the very time, the mayor argued against that. This idea that he figured out it was a bad idea. He figured out it was a bad idea after we sent in monitors and said it must stop. Even then, he continued the policy.
All right, Mayor, would you like to make a quick response to that?
Yes, I would. I've sat, I've apologized, I've asked for forgiveness, but the bottom line is that we stopped too many people, but the policy, we stopped too many people, and we've got to make sure that we do something about criminal justice in this country. There is no great answer to a lot of these problems, and if we took off everybody that was wrong off this panel, everybody that was wrong on criminal justice at some time in their careers, there'd be nobody else up here.
Well, he tried to fight back there, but as you know, because you're watching Liquid Lunch, and we've been talking about this for literally weeks now, Mike Bloomberg actually lied in his statement explaining his position on stop and frisk. He went out there and said, as we know, at the Aspen Institute, he said that 95% of murderers and murder victims are carbon copy. They're minorities between 16 and 25, basically bunched every murderer into one group. Went on to say how when he was mayor, of course he put all the cops in the minority neighborhoods. That's where all the crime was. And then further went on to say about was we take those young minority kids that we could Xerox copy not taking their gun out. So it's really tough for me to watch him talking about how he apologized and begged for forgiveness. I saw, like, a couple of statements saying that, he brought it down. Another lie. Many reputable news organizations, including right here on Newsmax, have reported that when he became mayor, there were about 100,000 stops for stop and frisk in New York for the previous 3 years average. And at the height of it, under Mayor Bloomberg, it was up to almost 700,000 stop and frisks, 85% of those people being minorities. But it wasn't just Joe Biden who was on the attack. Elizabeth Warren at this point is fighting for her political presidential candidacy life. If she doesn't play somewhere good in Nevada or South Carolina, it's pretty much curtains for her. And she did not hold back her fire when going after Bloomberg.
About who we're running against. A billionaire who calls women fat broads and horse-faced lesbians. And no, I'm not talking about Donald Trump. I'm talking about Mayor Bloomberg.
So everybody's dipping into the skeletons of Mike Bloomberg's past, and I think she was referring to there something that we talked about on yesterday's show. There are some lawsuits that were brought against Mike Bloomberg that he ultimately settled, but some of those depositions are in the public domain. And he had repeatedly, or at least allegedly, oversaw management of an organization that was misogynistic, very sexist, all kinds of rude and crude jokes. And at one point, a woman coming back from maternity leave asked if she could have a little more time for herself because she couldn't find a babysitter or a nanny, and Bloomberg suggested she kill it. And said, what do you even need to be there for? Your baby doesn't even know you. And then he went on, of course, to compound it by saying that they should just find some black who doesn't even need to speak English to save the baby in case they're in a burning building. So he continues to have problems in my book. And lo and behold, some other greatest hits from Mike Bloomberg's past have surfaced. And not so long ago, he had a totally different take on Donald Trump than he does now. Take a look at this.
You've taken yourself out of the 2012 presidential race, but another New Yorker may be getting in, Donald Trump. What do you think?
America's a wonderful country. Everybody that's born here and is over 35 has the opportunity. I know Donald Trump. He's a great guy, and I'm a big fan of Donald Trump.
Think he's going to run?
I have no idea. You'll have to ask Donald Trump.
Okay.
Said he's a great guy. Said he loves him. He kind of strange how many times this guy has changed his position. And, you know, Mayor Pete, I thought last night, he was the subject of some attacks in New Hampshire, and because he came out of Iowa in the lead, but Buttigieg being very programmed, very robotic, and they have them all perfect up, nice pedigree. And, you know, Amy was, I guess, trying to dig in there because between the two of them, they actually beat Bernie Sanders in New Hampshire, but they're splitting a lot of votes. But Mayor Pete, I thought, said something really good, and it echoed what I said on yesterday's show, which was, he said, you know, can we get an actual Democrat as one of our leaders? And he pointed to Bernie Sanders and said, you know, here we have a guy who's a socialist, and he's not even a member of our party. And then we have this other guy who's only been a Democrat for a couple of years now. What about us? And, you know, I guess he's standing up for himself, but he's also talking about, hey, you know, how about us staying in the wool Democrats? And Amy Klobuchar, she's also fighting for her political presidential campaign life here. And she went into this whole big, long theory about how she's in the arena and she's on the national front, and she voted against 50% of Trump's bills along with the rest. She's just trying to find it anywhere. And Mayor Pete, to me, if he keeps his mouth shut, I think, you know, Bernie Sanders and Warren and Bloomberg can all beat the crap out of each other, and he could still hang around. Also, news on the Democratic primary front today was that Joe Biden apparently came out with like 32 endorsements, and you know, many people around here in the big dollar donor circuit are saying that if Joe Biden doesn't come in at least second in Nevada and win South Carolina going away, it's over. And I think if Joe Biden's gone and Amy Klobuchar's gone, then you're going to have, you know, Bernie versus Bloomberg, and you're going to have Mayor Pete, who maybe just be able to keep creeping up on the outside. You never know, but it's getting more interesting by the minute. Trying to keep you updated on everything that's happening on the home front here. Top story today is Roger Stone sentenced to 40 months in prison for his part in lying to Congress and threatening witnesses as alleged in the crime. He was convicted some time ago. Today, Judge Amy Berman Jackson weighed in. She did agree to stay the execution of the sentence until a final decision is made on what's going to happen with Roger's request for a new trial because of being tainted. One of the jurors broke her oath, tweeted about the case while she was heading up the jury. So we'll see about that. Many legal experts tell me it's not a really good shot for Roger. It's kind of a long shot, but we'll take a look at it and keep you up to speed on if the president's going to weigh in. He gave out a bunch of pardons and commuted a bunch of sentences this week already. Maybe one more would be the perfect recipe to ending a problem that's been going on for some time with Roger Stone, still the only person left from the Mueller probe that seems to be facing prison time. We'll keep you updated on all that. We'll take a quick break. More Liquid Lunch. Mike Tracy coming up after this.